Good morning, everyone. Please open your hymnals to, I don't know if I'm supposed to, but I can't see Jake, so I'm just assuming once again he didn't show up for work. Is that right?
That's right.
Per usual. I know, good morning. Thanks for being here. Thanks for being here for this moment. We have some news. First a little backstory. I think the context will be helpful. We started Bitwise Industries in 2013, thinking that we could use the technology industry to fix a city. And what we were thinking at that time is that if we could just add a few ingredients to what was already going on here in Fresno, that we could turn this place into a technology center of global importance. One that was diverse and inclusive and, most importantly, representative of the county in which we live. And so to do that, we focused our efforts on 3 areas of business: education, place, and industry. Education for us falls under the banner of Geekwise Academy. We teach people to code and we create on-ramps into the technology industry for people from all walks of life and all kinds of backgrounds. For a sense of place, we wanted to build the sorts of exciting venues that really actualize the experience of being a technologist in a place like Fresno. Because it doesn't matter if you're from Carruthers or Menlo Park, you can conjure an image of what the inside of Google looks like, and it was way better than what we were building here in Fresno. And then for industry, we really wanted to model what it looked like to take non-traditional talent, build and ship world-class software, and build world-class software companies in a non-traditional place. What we're doing is working. In those 6 years, we've educated 4,000 students. Of the ones who enter our career programs, 80% earn employment in the technology industry. 250,000 square feet of technology commercial real estate is located here in downtown Fresno, and 200 technology companies have chosen to operate their businesses out of one of those centers. What we're doing is working. So this morning, I'm really, really proud and honored to announce that Bitwise Industries has secured a $27 million capital investment into its companies. It gets better. But wait, there's more. If you order now, so far as we know, this $27 million Series A is among the largest ever raised by a Latinx female founder of a technology company. And for the first time ever, we can imagine what it might look like to take what's working in Fresno and expand to other cities.
And, go ahead. They've got 200 people on their end, so we've really got to get to work over here. And so this morning, we are thrilled to announce that Bitwise Industries is expanding to Bakersfield, California. When we experienced success with what we were doing in Fresno, we became curious. If this model is doing what it's doing in our hometown, how might it impact other cities? Which led us to this process of exploration and brought us here to Bakersfield. And in Bakersfield, we found a story that was familiar. We found a story that resonated. But above all that, we found a quality of human being deeply in love with their city that made us want to be a part of the Bakersfield story. This is a place full of gritty and talented people, which in so many ways is where we began. I am so fortunate to have founded Bitwise Industries alongside of Irma. And so much of what we do is an attempt to take what was serendipity in her life and make it a likely outcome for other people from similar backgrounds around the country.
And honestly, backgrounds like mine, you can clap for Jake. I almost stepped on your moment there, Jake, like per usual. And backgrounds like mine are common in places like Fresno and Bakersfield. I grew up the daughter of a farm labor family. I grew up in a community that is driven almost exclusively by agriculture, and that is Fresno and Bakersfield. Those are places that we know in the background is common. What isn't common necessarily is the outcome of that story. Though I didn't have my sights set on college necessarily growing up in that place and in that way, through a number of serendipitous moments, I ended up with a scholarship to go to school across the country. But not having planned for that and not having a reliable car, my family and I recycled our way to a Greyhound bus ticket, and I rode the 2,500 miles from Fresno, California to Toledo, Ohio to go to school. And upon arriving there, I ended up flipping through the course catalog and chose the building with the shiniest possible glass. And that is how I chose my major. That building, that glass building, I thought to my 17-year-old self, it would be really neat to take classes in a glass building. And even though that's not career advice, that is the story of how I became a computer engineer. But the point there is not to tell a funny anecdote or a funny story. The point is that to illustrate that so many things had to align just perfectly, just right. The stars had to be just so to make this moment possible for someone like me. And I believe, and Bitwise believes, that we can be a lot more deliberate about what we expose young people to and the opportunities that we place in front of them such that they can change their own lives. And so that's exactly what we're going to do. We're going to take this money, and in spite of 6 years of what we think is success here in Fresno, we feel very much as though we're just at the starting line. And so with that in mind, we will use Fresno as the headquarters and epicenter of Bitwise operations as we grow.
And in expanding to Bakersfield, our intention is to bring the full breadth of the Bitwise ecosystem here to a new geography. What that means is that we'll begin teaching courses at GeekWise Academy, teaching local individuals to code. It means that we will locate some of our technology companies here in Bakersfield alongside local startups and other companies that choose to locate here. And we will endeavor to wrap all of that inside of an exciting building. We plan to buy a building here in downtown Bakersfield, where we hope to create that vibrant culture and community that is diverse and inclusive and has become in so many ways the hallmark of what we do at Bitwise in Fresno. Our hope is to add what is special about Bitwise to what we see as an exciting moment in downtown Bakersfield. And today is not just important to Bitwise or to Fresno or even to Bakersfield. We see today as certainly the first expansion for Bitwise, but the beginning. It's our intention to build on the work that we have done in Fresno and the work that we plan to do here in Bakersfield in reaching other underdog cities around the country with the intention of taking opportunity to where we know there is talent, but that opportunity often doesn't go.
But let's not mistake ourselves. This is a really, really big deal. This record-setting milestone is obviously good news for Bitwise, but it's not just good news for Bitwise and the work that we do. This is good news for women in technology. This is good news for the Latinx community. This is good news for, of course, Fresno and of course, Bakersfield, but this is good news for the technology industry as a whole. And so while we recognize that this is a big deal, we also know that the best possible thing is that for tomorrow, some other woman or person of color eclipses this milestone by a wide margin. And we do it again and again and again. And hopefully we can think of this as maybe just one of the first. So today we're going to take a couple of beats to celebrate because it has been a long road. But tomorrow we're getting back to work. And Bitwise, together with our incredible co-leads in Caper Capital and the New Voices Fund, we're getting back to work because we believe deeply that we can create the diverse and inclusive technology workforce that the world is so obviously missing. So thank you for being here. Thank you for witnessing this moment in our lives and in the community of Fresno and Bakersfield. And thank you for being in the ring with us as we go toe to toe with all of the other giants around the world working on these super tough problems. Thanks for being here. We are going to take questions. I think they mentioned the email address at the beginning of this press conference. If you send your questions to pr@bitwiseindustries.com, we're going to do it live. We're going to attempt. Please open your hymnals to... The first question that we have is how will this affect hiring in Fresno? We are expecting to double down in terms of the operations and the size of operations here in Fresno. So while we are at about 100 people today, we can expect to eclipse that in the next 2 years or so.
Yeah. So today, no, we're going to need a bit more time. The intention is to rapidly accelerate what it is that we're doing. Oh, I'm supposed to repeat the question. When will we open a building in Bakersfield? Today, Irma should have had a heart attack. The intention is to dig even deeper than we've been digging. As many of you know, we've been exploring the Bakersfield community for some time now, getting to know people, but there are a lot more to get to know, and we're excited to do that. That will, as I say, accelerate over the course of the next 6 months, and the intention is to begin operations in full in Bakersfield by the early part of next year. That will be coupled very likely with the acquisition and development of a building that may take longer than that, so we may begin in a more temporary site, but excited to begin work right away.
Question is, are there other potential cities that we're looking at for Bitwise locations? Yeah, we have been doing a lot of work in asking ourselves what it would look like, where would Bitwise be a good fit, and which cities would be a good fit for us, right? So it has to be a sort of bi-directional relationship. And so we've loosely defined some criteria for what we characterize as underdog cities. Other people may call them AAA cities, the places where you might find a AAA baseball team in terms of density of population and services that exist. They might potentially have an industry that is aging and so on and so forth. So there are a number of qualifiers for what we think would make a good Bitwise city, but it's going to take a lot of research and a lot of on-the-ground time to go and investigate and learn about those places, the same as we've spent time learning and investigating what would Bitwise look like in Bakersfield. Having fallen in love with that city and the potential impact that we might be able to create there, it seemed like a really neat and obvious fit, but only after having done a lot of that work. And so any other place we choose to go, we will put just as much work into that place, and of course, endeavor to fall in love there as well.
Yes, so the question is, are we planning to hire people from Bakersfield? And the answer is emphatically yes. We believe that whatever Bitwise does in Bakersfield cannot be a rinse, wash, and repeat of what we did in Fresno. It has to have a local flavor and understanding. And so the intention is to begin recruiting into a number of very specific roles that range from software development to instruction, to those that will be responsible for curating the Bitwise community here in Bakersfield, and are excited to add that talent to the broader family of Bitwise team members that today are almost all in Fresno.
How do we expect the expansion to affect Fresno? So positively. So I think we should be really clear that the reason that we want to go to Bakersfield is to have an impact on Bakersfield. That said, we think that it will ultimately have a positive impact on Fresno as we create in the Central Valley and potentially up and down California, greater opportunity for technology advancement in a high skill, high wage, upward mobility industry that the technology industry provides. And the populations of these places will benefit from that, the more density we create around that idea that are outside of what we call first tier cities.
Yeah, the question is, where will the new building in Bakersfield be located? And the answer is unequivocally downtown Bakersfield. We believe deeply that you cannot build great towns without also building great downtowns. And that ties out to a variety of things. but all trace in some way to density. We want to create a walkable place in which our work complements the restaurant across the street, complements the work that the city is doing, complements the work that local entertainment is doing. We want to be a part of the fabric here in Bakersfield, and we believe that the absolute best place to do that is at the center of this city.
The question is about the investors that went into the $27 million. We found incredible partners in the Caper Center or Caper Capital and New Voices Fund. Caper is out of Oakland and New Voices Fund is out of New York. They are our co-leads, and they are joined by a list of really fantastic people who not only are excited about the work that we're doing and have already accomplished here in Fresno, but who deeply, deeply believe in betting on the same things that we are betting on. And what we are betting on, like hands down, is the potential of human beings, no matter where you're from, what your last name is, whether or not you have a pedigree. And the partners that have come to the table have that as their investment theses, that it really is about the human being and their potential to be activated, whether it's in the technology industry or otherwise. And so they have provided sort of this external validation that what we're doing is working, and they are excited to see it, not just in Fresno, but in places like Fresno across the United States.
The question is, why did Bitwise choose Bakersfield as our first expansion site? The answer is we were terrified of what you would do if we didn't. The truth of the matter is that you'd be hard pressed to find two cities more similar than Bakersfield and Fresno. And as I say that, I want to acknowledge that there are also really important differences. And there's also a lot that being from Fresno doesn't teach you about being from Bakersfield. But in Bakersfield, we found a story that was familiar, where we felt as though if we're going to try this expansion thing, we ought to, one, do it in a place that will feel familiar, where the challenges are similar, where we feel like we know something about the hurdle that we're going to try and get over, and two, a place that we care about. And so it being a part of the broader fabric of the Central Valley was a big deal. And then ultimately, what sealed it was the human beings that we met here on the ground.
What are the priorities for the next 12 months? First of all, I'm going to take a nap after this. And then I'm going to make each of you buy me a slice of pizza, one at a time. I'm hungry. No, for the next 12 months, we're going to focus on, of course, expanding operations in Fresno. That's a huge part of what we're working on right now, is mapping that out, making those hires. We have some really key hires, of course, that we want to make. And in many ways, just doubling down on the things that are working. And then during that same period of time, Jake has alluded to already, we expect to have a meaningful presence in Bakersfield in a really short period of time. And so that creates a lot of work too, to sort of get that excitement going, make sure that we have the right hires in Bakersfield. And then of course, the entire communication architecture that's going to be required to operate in two places at once. It's not something that we've done before. We of course work with remote employees all the time, but this is going to be a little bit different. This is going to be a very local and specific expression of Bitwise in Bakersfield. And so learning to be friends with Bakersfield and work together in concert with one another will take some learning from us.
Yeah, the question is, what are our plans for recruiting other technology companies to Bakersfield? And the answer is born of our experience in Fresno. The first task here is connecting with what already exists in the community. Bakersfield, there isn't a category of anything worth doing that Bakersfield is missing. There are talented people in all sorts of different positions who have been doing extraordinary work before we ever printed these banners. The first task is connecting with that community, finding out where they're at and how best to catalyze them into a community that moves this city forward and its economy forward. The task from there becomes much easier, because what we realized in Bakersfield is that group together and working is extraordinarily attractive. And people want to be a part of it. Young people just joining the industry want to be a part of it. Technology companies and talent from outside of the area want to be a part of it. And you see sort of the new things rippling out in every direction. And so the intention is to methodically work through that process of building community. And that doesn't happen as fast as a new coat of paint on the exterior of a building or a flashy sign. But our commitment is to work patiently through the task of building community around the work that's being done here. And we think ultimately that will be the most attractive piece and most important thing that we do in Bakersfield.
I think we have time for one more question. Jake, this question is for you. Are we partnering with UC Bakersfield?
So the CSU Bakersfield, but they're happy for the upgrade. The philosophy of Bitwise has been we are partnering with literally everybody who wants to join hands in doing this work. So strategically, several months ago, we planted Lynette Zalesny as the president of CSU Bakersfield. For those of you that don't know, she was formerly with us in Fresno at CSU Fresno. Absolutely, yes. The work that we do requires us to work alongside traditional educators, and we take great joy in doing that. So Bakersfield College, CSU Bakersfield, the Bakersfield High School District, and on and on and on in every direction. We are looking for folks that want to roll up their sleeves and get to work on this really exciting and really big task.
That's it. Thanks for coming. Thanks for being a witness to this moment. We'll see you outside.